Yes, good evening, and welcome to another wonderful episode of Streams of Consciousness here. And we're going to be speaking with a very interesting individual, very enlightened, open-minded, and overall altruistic human being. I'm just going to give you a short biography of who we have in studio with us here tonight. His name is Dr. Peter Baofu. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. He's an American visionary, an author of 146 new theories and visions, but 180 scholarly books as of July 2023. In 2024, I'm sure there's a lot more, so he'll keep us up to date. Of course, I've written numerous articles to provide visionary challenges to conventional wisdoms in all fields of knowledge. For example, social sciences, the formal sciences, the natural sciences, and the humanities, all with the aim for unified theories of everything, keyword being unified, of course, together with numerous visions of future histories in relations to the mind, nature, society, and culture. Of course, his books are listed in the top universities and the libraries all over the world, many schools, and he has earned an entry on the list of prominent emerging writers, contemporary authors, and just an honorary scholar himself. His accolades go as far as Fulbright Scholarly in the Far East, has taught as a professor in different universities from South Asia, Central Asia, to the Balkans, North America, Southeast Asia. He's finished more than 5 academic degrees, and of course, most of them with summa cum laude graduates. So we're dealing with a very well-accomplished man here in terms of the cognitive aspect of what makes us human being. But as you know, we are much more than just our scholarly accolades. We are holistic, we are spiritual, we are physical, we are emotional. So tonight here, we're just going to allow him to give us an introduction of who he is, but most importantly, how can he share some of that information and wisdom with us here on our program. So a special good evening to have you here tonight, Dr. Professor. Just let people know your name, who you are, outside of this biography as well.
Yeah, let me say first, thank you for inviting me. And my name is Professor Dr. Peter Baofu. Okay. And you have beautifully summarized who I am, so I don't need to say much. Maybe the only thing that I need to add is that I have been in more than 150 different countries by now. By the end of this tour, I probably have been in 160 or 70. I think that in 1 year or 2 years, I do not know, I might have the record of going through all the countries on Earth. Well, I do this on purpose because I want to understand humanity on the ground, not just on the basis of one culture, one society, one race, one ethnic group, one people, and all that. It does not satisfy me because my interest is about humanity as a whole, not just one group of people or one region. So for a visionary like me, that is very important for you to understand the whole humanity in all fields of knowledge with no exception. And consciousness, by the way, is a major topic on my agenda.
Wow. All right. Well, it's an absolute pleasure and an honor to be in your presence here, sir. The first question, I guess, naturally would be, what drives you the most in terms of your altruistic views on life? What keeps you motivated to be the human being that you are and to continue the mission that you're on?
The most important passion in my life so far is that I would like to make some contributions to humanity in terms of some new visions about the human future. Not just in relation to one issue or one culture or one society or one region, but about the totality. And that's why I have been written more than 180 books in all fields of knowledge, in the social sciences, the natural sciences, the formal sciences, and the humanities, with no exception. So what I'm doing is very historically unprecedented because no one thinks that a human being can do so much. And yes, I not only I do that, but I also try to come up with some unified theories of everything. Not theory, but theories.
Right.
Because in the end, what I have discovered is that there's not just one unified theory that will not be sufficient. There are multiple unified theories, and each of them can give you a different angle of the unifying universe. So that is what I'm trying to do, and that's my motivation, and there's intellectual contribution to humanity at the highest, broadest level. And that is the first most important passion in my life, and that's what I have been doing, and that's what I'm doing now in the global tour. Why do I care about coming to Dominica? Right. Dominica is a small country, by the way. It's only about 70,000 people. Right. That is very, very small. China, by comparison, 1.4 billion. So 1.4 billion versus 72,000 or 70,000, there's no comparison. But I still do not ignore that and dismiss that because I want to understand humanity on the ground. Right. Because sometimes size is not that important. You also have to understand the differences. And those differences can enrich you to understand humanity at the broadest level. Right. In its most diverse way. And this is something that a lot of people sometimes do not do because they focus on the major powers. But I think that many of the solutions that you can give to humanity cannot be very realistic if you only focus on those who are the most important, but you ignore the majority, which may be the poorest, maybe the least underdeveloped. But I do think that they have a lot to say about the future of humanity.
Okay. All right, so human beings live on a planet called Earth, right? So you visited many of the different places on the planet Earth where human beings live. What are some of the most, we're going to break it down into 5 positives and 5 negatives. What are some of the 5 most common positives you see we share as human beings, right, from your different experiences, as well as what are some of the 5 most common negatives that we share as human beings? Maybe 5 might be too much, but what are some of the most positives, collective and negative?
Before I answer the question, I want to point out that the way that you construct the question is not very useful because you assume that when you talk about what we share, humanity, different people share in terms of good things and the bad things, sometimes you do ignore that sometimes some countries, some people may be something bad, but they may not be shared by other people. Conversely, they may have something good, but they may not be shared of other people. And we are very different from each other. We need to accept that. We need to tolerate that. We need to respect that. But when you talk about the commonality in terms of the bad and good, then sometimes you ignore the differences. Sometimes the differences are much more important to those people than the commonalities. Wow. And that's why people kill each other. The reason that they kill each other because they talk like that. Wow. What do we share in common? And based on that, you dictate to other people what to do because that's what we share. Right. If I share something with you, then I expect you to behave like what I do. Right. Because we have something to share in common. In fact, this is one of the things that major powers in history have been committing genocide, apartheid, slavery, reparation, and many of other things. In the name of universality, whatever the universality in the name of God, in the names of democracy, in the name of Allah, in the name of Jesus, in the name of whatever you care to say that name is, in the name of communism, in the names of whatever else. Why? Because you think that is what we share in common. Part of a human nature. So if this is what we share, and you do not do it, then I have the right to come in and force you to do it because that's what we share. That's what we have in common. And why do you not do that? You violate the universality. Then so you are bad, you are evil, and you are bad and evil. I have the goddamn right to come in and ask you to change in the name of the good. If not, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to overthrow you. I'm going to sanction you. Why? Because it's human nature. You violate that, and I have the right. Now, once you start thinking like that, it's very dangerous. Now you enter into a very dangerous path. That's how people kill each other with pride. Yes, sir. With satisfaction. Look at how the Israelis right now are killing the Palestinians. They look at them as subhuman animals. And the Palestinians kill back. When you're in this kind of mindset, isn't that how ironic? You talk about the Holocaust. Now the same people who suffer from the Holocaust is committing genocide with pride. They feel so good to kill all of these people. Each day they kill so many innocent people, women, children, with satisfaction. They feel so good about it. We read the Western mass media. They are so happy. They don't care about all those people have been killed. The entire city of Gaza has been destroyed.
Entire city.
You go to Gaza now. Everywhere you go, there's rubbles. And it's okay. If you talk to people in Israel, they feel happy about it. They feel so happy. They kill all of them. Those are subhuman. Those are animals. That's what they think about the Palestinians. And conversely, the Palestinians, when they kill the Israelis, that's 1,200, by the way. By the way, there's so much less than what they have been killed, more than 100,000 now in the Palestinians side. You see that?
Yes, because they have the common.
Now you think in terms, you call those people the terrorists.
Right.
If they are the terrorists, that means they are very bad. And you are good. If you are good, then if I'm good, hey, I can kill you. You are not, you are animals. You are subhuman. You are bad. You are terrorists. I kill you all. That's dangerous.
Okay.
Try to think in terms not so much of what we share, that's important, by the way, but what we do not share.
Okay, talk to me.
And what we need to respect them. You are what you are. I'm what I am. I leave you in peace. You leave me in peace. And we are brothers and sisters. It's okay.
But isn't that like okay, you're saying be aware of the things that we do not share in common. But we all share things not in common, if you get what I'm saying. There's a natural yin and yang to it, if you want to call it that way. Me and you share this one particular view in common. Just by that fact alone, me and you naturally do not share a particular view in common with someone else because we share this particular view. So the balance of what we have in common and what we do not have in common, they cancel each other out by the appreciation of that or by, this is, I guess this is where self-awareness comes in. To be open-minded to the possibility of, hey, I might be right, but I might also be wrong. And then where do I find that balance though? How
Okay, that's fine. Because I am a visionary and many of my ideas are very different. Here you go, another question about we need to understand what's right and what's wrong. Now, that's also very dangerous, the way that you ask the question, because you assume that that's a
dangerous
question. Again, this is a temptation for thousands of years. Human beings have been talking like this. We need to get out of that box. And that's why in my publication, 180 books so far, a good example is the book Beyond Ethics to Post-Ethics. I say that we need to go beyond ethics. Beyond ethics to post-ethics. We need to go beyond ethics because in the name of ethics, in the name of morality, we humans have been very brutal to each other in the name of morality. In the name of the good, we have committed so much evil in the name of the good. It's very dangerous. We need to get out of this mindset. We have to know what's right and what's wrong. As soon as you talk like this, you find out what's right and what's wrong. You say, okay, now let's talk about what's right, what is wrong. And finally, you say, okay, now we come to the conclusion that this is right. This is wrong. Okay, good, thank you. And next day or next week or next month or next year, you come across someone else, that person is violating your holiness of what is right and what's wrong and what you're going to do. You are wrong.
Yes, yes.
I am right. And therefore, what is next?
Conflict.
Then you kill them. You sanction them with great satisfaction in you. You are so proud of it.
Right.
All you need to do is the name calling. You call them a terrorist. You call them a communist. You call them a fascist. You call them a Nazi. You call them a sexist. You call them a racist. All these are name calling. You play with that. Now, the beginning of horror in human history. That's how we suppress, oppress, kill each other with good conscience in us. With good conscience, again, good is in quotation mark.
Right.
Good in quotation mark. Okay. So, I mean, that kind of question is already putting you in a very You are repeating the same pattern of violence in human history. You talk about consciousness, it's time to get out of that consciousness altogether.
Wow.
You are repeating the consciousness that people have been doing in the last few thousand of years in the name of consciousness.
Talk to me. Okay, help me out, because the name of this program is called Streams of Consciousness. So then how do I get out of this? In my particular case, I'm very open to this. How do I get out of my own perception of consciousness, or what I believe is a good thing? And clearly it's a dangerous thing if I'm not fully aware of the levels of consciousness that are out there.
There are several ways to do that. I have already mentioned 2 ways, but maybe implicitly, maybe it's not so clear to you. One way, and that's why I said that what I'm doing in this global tour is very unusual, very historically unprecedented. Why do I care to come to Dominica? Most people ignore it. I don't, because I want to find out the differences among human beings. And when you ask the question, how do you get out of that box? To get out of that box is to understand many things that we do not share. We do not share as human beings. Once we understand that, there is already half of the solution solved. Because now you realize, I cannot talk like this anymore. I have to be careful. Don't say, he is a terrorist.
Wow.
He's a communist. He's a fascist. I am a freedom fighter. I am for the good. They are the evil. I'm the good guy. They are the bad guy. You see that dichotomy again. Polarized thinking. Because as soon as you talk like this, you make an assumption about morality. There is a morality which is absolute. It's just written on the wall. This is good. This is bad. Now, according to this morality, you are the bad guy because this morality says that you should not do that, but you do. Therefore, you are bad. So how can you get out of it? To get out of it, to realize that this morality that you have been using is not shared by everyone except you and those people who like you. Now, that is not easy.
Does that make me a bad person?
No.
If something is working for me that is beneficial or good or
yes,
to be
see,
good.
I forget about that expression in English. Something like this is that, what's the name? The best way to hell is often paved with a noble intention, something like that. You understand me? It's not exact. What they try to say is that often people, they commit the most evil is often the people who started with the best intention. It's not because they are bad people. You just say, oh, does it make me very bad? I say, on the contrary. On the contrary, many people, they have committed evil or bad, very bad things. They think that they are wonderful. They think that they are the good guy. They think that they do it for goodness. It's not because they think that they are bad. They do it. Sometimes they think that, in fact, this is exactly why they get so motivated to kill with merciless, because they think that they are doing something good. Look.
So wouldn't you fall under that same category too, though, with your travels and your...
One other thing that I learned from my travel is that from my global tour, I don't call it travel. Travel means pleasure. I don't do this for pleasure. In fact, my global tour has been very stressful to me. Okay, I went through a lot of things which are very bad to me, but I need to finish this. That is my sacrifice. I don't always enjoy it. In fact, I suffer all the time. It's very stressful to me, but I learn from them. And I said to myself, you must finish it if you want to find the truth. Many people do not know that finding the truth is not something that you can just like eating a nice dinner. It's very comfortable. In fact, many people, when they discover what they think is the truth, some of them may even commit suicide. Because all of a sudden, you discover that all these things that you know, they are just illusion. They are not true anymore. And you get shocked. And some people, they become so disillusioned and say, what is life? Life doesn't mean anything to me anymore because I used to believe this. This is what I believe in. I fight for it all my life. Now I realize that it's not true. Oh my God. And what happened? What am I going to do?
So what does
I have wasted my life for nothing now. I mean, how shocking.
Yes, sir. So my question is, what does truth mean to you now?
I'm very careful not to speak in terms of the truth.
Yeah, well, like I'm saying, you know, like clearly, you're revealing a lot of things to me as well, and I'm happy to meet you because, like you state, you know, sometimes what you think is right might be wrong, and your perceptions of things, with positive intentions, might have a negative effect.
Yes.
So I try my best to curb this.
Yes.
So what does truth look like to you?
Okay, fine.
To you.
Let me answer this question. I use the term the truth, not to tell you what the truth is, but as a critical term, as a critical index to challenge, to question what people accept as the truth. You understand me? Instead of what tell you the truth, I use the notion of the truth in order to question the truth.
Right.
That is not true anymore. So what are some of the consequences? One consequence is that you might try to understand that truth in a way is relative. Now, but they are not so absolutely relative.
Truth is relative, but not so
absolutely right, because there are always some truth about that, things about that too. So it's always something in between. Okay, let me give you one example. Now you have the war in Ukraine. You have the war in Gaza. If you listen to Western mass media, they give you one side of the narrative. If you listen to the Russian mass media, they give you the other side of the narrative. There's something about in Gaza. If you listen to the Israeli and the U.S. and the Western mass media, they give you one side of the narrative. Israel has the right to defend itself. Israel is the victim. The other guy is the bad guy. If you look in the other mass media among the Arabs world and also among the Palestinians in the global South, people look at things not like that. Right. Now you sit here, you say, I listen to this, they tell me A. I listen to that, they tell me A, negative A. So which one is true? This one say A. This one say no, not A. It is negative A, or the opposite of A. So what are you going to do? In many cases, the truth, the so-called truth in quotation mark, is somewhere in between. That means that you don't believe what they said. You also don't believe what they said. When I read mass media about what is going on in Gaza and Ukraine, I do not believe in any of the narratives in the Western mass media. I also do not believe in any of the narratives in the Russian media.
Wow.
Both of them are engaging in propaganda to misinform, to manipulate you, to capture your mind and your heart to support them. You have to take side. The point is, I don't take side. One way is to free yourself out of the box. Once you take side, you are trapped into this kind of moral thinking. You end up killing now, because now you take this side against the other side. Now you are so glad to kill the hell out of you. Many people in the West, when they see so many, nowadays, I don't even know how many Russian soldiers have been killed, 500,000, I don't know. No one knows the true figure. But when they see the number, they are so happy. I'll kill them all, nuke them.
Yes, sir.
On the other side, when they see so many Ukrainians have been killed, I also do not know how many of them, maybe 20 million, I mean, maybe 200,000, 300,000, because Ukraine has less population than Russia. And many of them feel so good to kill them all. I mean, I'm sad by all.
Okay.
I don't take side and say, okay, let me join you now. Let's go and fight and kill them all. When you do this, you perpetuate this kind of vicious cycle of violence that we have not been able to get out of. You want to talk about it to get out of the boxes? Not just one box. There are many boxes that you have to get out. This is one way to get out.
Okay.
Look, using the truth, using the truth to question the truth, not because you ignore the truth, but because all those truths are not true. All this is propaganda, misinformation, however you call that. Nowadays, they use different names to cover up. People, when they use names, they engage in name calling. Often they engage in propaganda because they try to cover up what they do. Okay, And some people are vulnerable to this kind of misinformation. So you have to get out of those kind of questioning because you are using the same slogan, the same ideology that they have been trapping you. And you think that you are asking a very enlightened question because you truly believe in that.
Yes, sir.
And say, how can that be? It's just like in the age of enlightenment. Some people think that they are now enlightened. So according to this philosophy of enlightenment, they question you based on the enlightenment because they are enlightened, but you are not.
Right, right.
You are not. You are darkened. They are brightened. There's the enlightened. You are not enlightened at all. So let me civilize you.
Right.
Let me lecture you what enlightenment is.
Yes, sir. Okay.
That is exactly what they have been doing throughout human history, and they are still doing that.
So what you're talking about is really programming, social programming, and in my particular case, it seems like a subconscious programming as well, because it takes the access to certain levels of information. It also have to take my environment as well, because if I, raise an environment where the enlightened ones, I will call them, or the conscious ones, this is how we conscious people talk, this is how we conscious people do things. So anybody out of that is not conscious, so even the questions that I ask, like you stated, they are not so conscious in that aspect, because you have to have a balance between the A plus and the A minus and try and navigate between. But how many of us are able to do that, and how easy to navigate through that?
I have written several books on this question on consciousness. One is on consciousness, the other one is on unconsciousness, and some of the books on some of the nature of consciousness. Also, when people have problem like this, it's not just a question of consciousness versus unconsciousness versus subconsciousness. There are three different levels that we can distinguish. You can commit all of this at all three levels together.
Okay.
It's not just one. It's not that if you're conscious, you're okay. If you're unconscious, you're not okay. You can be conscious like a clear bird, but you can be indoctrinated like hell.
Wow.
Okay? Sometimes people are very clear in their thinking. It's not because they are not clear, but except that the logical reasoning is thwarted. Okay? It's not that sometimes they may even be told about that, but somehow they do not get through to the logical conclusion. So it's not as so stupid or uneducated that you may think they are. Sometimes they are not. In fact, some of those people, they engage in this kind of problematic trap is often very smart, very educated. Okay? But they get trapped in this kind of thinking. Look at Lenin. Look at Marx. Look at Smith. Look at Jesus Christ. Look at Buddha. I can name so many names. Look at Napoleon. All these great names that you can keep naming. Many of these people are not stupid. They are very intelligent. They are very educated in their own time. They don't need to have a PhD. My point of being educated means that they read a lot. They understand. They spend a lot of time thinking about all these issues. They are very brilliant in their own way. Okay. But they failed. They messed up a lot. Look at what communism have done to human beings during the Cold War.
Okay.
Adam Smith is also another great thinker about capitalism. But look at what he has done in terms of human society, elevating greed and money making at the highest spiritual consciousness for the free market.
Wow.
How did they mess up the economic system as well on both sides of the ideology? Yes. So I'm not for the communists, nor do I for the capitalists. I think both of them are equally floated.
Powerful.
So we need to get out of this. See, it's not because they are not conscious. They are. In fact, the scary thing is many people, when they are very conscious of what they are doing, they are often doing the most evil because they are so conscious about it. Wow. If you are not conscious about it, if I tell you about it, you say, oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I do not even know that I do that. I'm sorry. I mean, you can even apologize. But those people say, I know it, but it's the right thing to do now. That is very hard to argue because it's not the person did not know and say, oh, I'm sorry, I did not know that, so sorry, I'm not going to do that again. Sometimes they are very excusable. We can forgive them and things can be improved. But you talk to people, they are so clear about them. They say, yes, I know about it. I did it. I do that again. But that is much more difficult too, because they're so conscious about it.
Right. Okay, so, wow, this is very heavy stuff, and even, eye-opening to me as well. So thank you for the wisdom. The next question I would want to ask now is in terms of navigating through new information. So now you've just provided me with all this new information. I have to then analyze myself, self-introspection. How do I go about navigating the new information that I've learned, and then try and balance out now and apply these things in everyday life?
Okay, you are talking about balancing. There's another problem because in my research on information, consciousness, the mind, society, and culture, I also noticed that unfortunately, quite a number of people cannot balance.
Wow.
In life, there are things which are absolute, but there are also things which are not absolute. Some people like to think absolutely, black or white, make a choice. Either me or the highway. You understand the analogy? Their thinking is very absolute, dichotomy, polarized thinking. Either me or you. You pick a choice. This side or that side. Absolute. They cannot balance because this side for them is the good one, the other side is the bad one. That's absolute. You cannot argue with someone who believes in the Quran or the Bible. You cannot say what the Bible said is in between truth. You cannot do that. Whatever the Bible said for the extremists is absolutely true. You cannot question. In fact, if you question them, you could be in trouble if you live together with them. It's easy for us to stay outside and don't live in that community and come in and talk about it, and then we leave. Can you imagine I live in that community? I could be persecuted.
Yes, sir.
I could disappear from the earth quickly. They will not tolerate someone like me. Well, the good luck for me is someone like me, we are from the outside, we come in for a few days, for a few weeks, and then we leave. If you don't leave, they will kick you out.
Yes, sir.
But if you, what if you are a member of that tribe? You are a member of that community. They will not tolerate you. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about so-called liberal democracy versus authoritarian society. In fact, in my book, The Rise of Authoritarian Liberal Democracy, I'm saying that even liberal democratic society is very authoritarian. In many cases, even more authoritarian than the so-called authoritarian society.
Wow.
So don't even think that I'm talking about the other side. In the US, you have a lot of one-dimensional thinking. People are very intolerant. You believe in one thing, but if you are contrary to the mainstream thinking, you are out. If you are a communist, if you are a Nazi, if you are a fascist, if you are a sexist, if you are a casteist, whatever other ideology that you have, you are out of the picture. You don't have a great future in America. If you, even during the Iraqi war, do you know that some Americans they speak out? What happened to those people? Some professors, some others, they speak out. They say that no, what the government said is not true. They get fired.
Yes, sir.
Some of them even get arrested. Now you have the cancel culture. You have the woke culture. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Now, what if you speak out against them? You get canceled. They force you to resign.
Right. So
Now you.
So what does balance look like though? Because I see it more and more now based on what you're saying. If I have to really be open-minded, that I'm walking a very thin line in terms of the consciousness and the awareness that I'm bringing, and how polarized based what I either say or what I present to people it can be on a destructive path, even if there's good intention behind it.
Okay.
You know. So
fine.
what does balance look like?
Okay, fine. The good thing is that you are not walking on a thin line if you don't play the game.
Okay.
then you are walking on a very thick line. They cannot even
Yeah.
touch you. But if you use the game,
Yes, sir.
play with the game, use the rules imposed on you, and use the morality, then you walk on a very thin line. You can tiptoe either way because you are still in the box. They trap you there.
Right.
That's why you walk on a thin line. But if you get out of that box, you are not walking on a thin line anymore. You are your own foundation. They cannot even touch you.
Yes, sir.
Now,
Yes, sir.
you pay a high price. It's not free. People do not know. Freedom is not free. Freedom of speech is not free. It's not given. A lot of new ideas in human history are often suppressed, persecuted at the beginning. They shut you off.
Right.
I don't need to tell you so many other people, they become martyrs in history. They do not tolerate you. So if you are willing to live your life, get out of the box, I tell you now, it's not free. You have a high price to pay. You may get killed. You may get assassinated. You may be in prison. But if you are willing to accept it, fine. But unfortunately, many people cannot accept that. It's too much for them. It's too harsh. And that's why people cannot use balance. When you start balancing, you are in trouble with the authority.
Wow. I see what you mean.
But those who go beyond, walk their own way, yes, some of them might become even famous in history, become a new visionary, a new thinker, a new paradigm. But they pay a high price. Now, I'm not saying it's good and bad again. It's up to the person who had to decide, is this for my life to behave like that, or should I just go to that black hole and just conform whatever people tell me to do? I just be happy like this.
It's up to you.
There are some people, there are many of them, they cannot accept the pressure, the hardship by sanction, social sanction, political sanction, economic sanction, political sanction, whatever that might be, because they just feel uncomfortable. They just shut up, live like what everyone does.
Yes, sir.
They do whatever everyone does, and they can have a job, have a family, and be happy. That is the end. But others don't. Others, they go beyond. And they die in the process. Including Jesus Christ, crucified. He's only one person. But he's not the only one. So do you want to behave like that? Many people say, I cannot. I don't want to be crucified. Suicide bombers, some of them have their own faith. They have their own vision. They are fanatics in a way, yes. But they are willing to do it. Can you imagine yourself carry a bomb, go and fight? I'm not sure that I and you or any ordinary person is willing, but some people are willing.
Yes, sir.
So I cannot tell you what to do. But I'm just saying that you want to get out of the boxes. There are ways for you to get out, but I'm not sure that's what you want to do. Because you only think about what you get out from, but you're not asking yourself what you need to pay for it. Just like you would say, I want to have a new shirt. Fine, but you are not thinking how much you have to pay for the new shirt. Wait until you know the price of the new shirt and say, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have the money to pay for it. It's too expensive.
Right.
Or I want to have a new car. Fine, I know that you want to have a new one, but you have not asked yourself how much do you need to pay for the new car until the car seller tell you, oh, that car, well, then you say, wow, there's too much, I cannot afford. So
I like that point. How much are you willing to pay for it? Let's talk about the cost.
including true consciousness, how much are you willing to pay?
Yes.
So when you talk consciousness as if that is something nice, something that everyone should have, you come here, just interview me or interview anyone else, and you get the true consciousness that you are happy. It doesn't work like this.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm happy. You're saying this to yourself. I'm getting schooled on what true consciousness looks like. This is amazing. Okay. So the next question is the price that we have to pay.
Yes.
In my particular case, it's being made aware that there's a lot more that I do not know about this thing called consciousness or my aims, right? Other people, it might be, let's say, their financial or their mental situation or their relationship situation, things that we want to pursue in life. My aim is just to help elevate the level of consciousness. Someone else might have a different aim, to be a fireman, a doctor, a lawyer. So what do you see the youth for? How do you see would be the best way for a young person to navigate through life and be aware of some of those prices that they will have to pay if they have to, achieve whatever it is that they want to achieve.
Okay. Let me give you one example in Dominica, because now we are in Dominica. So if this were in Germany, I could say, let's talk about Germany. So we are in Dominica. Let me give you one example why some people are not willing to pay or how much they are willing to pay. Now, the lifestyle in Dominica is very laid back. Okay. Let me give you some examples. People here, they like to drink a lot. They smoke a lot, marijuana and some other thing too. They eat a lot. They enjoy it. KFC and some other. They like to eat chickens or meat and all that. Okay. Now, once they enjoy a lot, they don't enjoy working too much. There's a trade-off here. Okay. The more you consume, the less you will spend on working.
Okay.
Okay. And another thing is, many people here, they don't have this kind of consciousness again that, let's say, in the US, people may have in terms of you can make a difference in your life. Positive thinking, you are confident. If I want to change my life for the better, I can make it. Some people here have certain pessimistic, fatalist thinking of life. They don't want to enjoy too much. They also believe that it doesn't make much difference. I'm not going to mention them. I spoke to a guy here. He had been working here for a long time. He wanted to change the governance. He thinks that the governance here is very corrupt. So he said, I have been working for many years. Now it comes to the point that I become pessimistic. That's not going to make much of any difference. And he said, it's not only me. Many people who live here think the same thing. Forget about it. You are not going to make much of any difference. You change, the next people come in, they do the same thing again. That's called pessimistic fatalism. Another thing is that what I learned from people here is that if you don't want to work too much, if you don't believe that things is going to get improved, but if you know that your neighbor somewhere is trying to change a lot and make life better, you become envious of them. Jealousy, envy. Yes, you want to push them down. Now, all this indication is to tell you that the culture is laid back. When a culture is laid back, you have all these things, the three things that I just mentioned. Envy, fatalism, and laziness. Okay, it is life for a laid back culture. So you want to ask me the price to pay. What if you tell the people tomorrow that you, from now on, you have to work like the Chinese, working day and night? In many shops, you go to Hong Kong, you go to Guangzhou, you see many shops. They open very early in the morning, 5 or 6 shops out they open, and they close at 9, 10, 11. And the shop owners go to sleep for only a few hours, and then they open up again. See, there's so much economic activity, okay? They work too much. Do you think that people here can work like this? Now, is the price to pay? They will say no. Why? Because there's too much stress, too much pressure. Is that what you want?
Well, I
just give you an analogy using the example in Dominica to answer your question about the price to pay in life. You want to convince people to do the opposite? No. Dominica will not become China. China will not become Dominica because they are two different things. Just back to the beginning again. One of the things that we have to learn in life, people are different. They don't share the same things. We need to understand that and respect that. But when you say to pay the price, so tomorrow you're going to say, hey, you know what? I think you should pay the price to do A, B, and C. And they will say, well, I don't share your philosophy. I don't want to pay the price. You ask me, how do we pay? The ordinary people, young people, I'm telling you now, not everyone can share that. Some of them do. So, but those who do doesn't mean that they are good. Those who don't doesn't mean that they are bad. It's just two different philosophies of life.
Wow.
Back to the beginning again. We do not share.
Yes, sir.
And that's the beginning of wisdom in a way.
Okay.
So you ask me, how can you change people? How can you make young people now to understand that they have to pay the price? I'm saying that, well, maybe young people also don't want to change like that. And what should you do? Should you kill them? Or should you respect them and say, okay, you don't want to change, go ahead. You don't change, that's fine. I want to change, fine. Okay, that's you, but they stay.
Right. Okay. This brings me to another question, and thank you for the answer. What about, is there such a thing as collective consequences
Yes.
and collective benefits?
Yes.
Because if we all
Yeah.
just say, hey, well,
Yeah.
where's the collective?
Yes, before, I think that is a good question, because another thing I discovered in my global tour, and I talk about this in my theory of existential dialectics, I propose more than 70 principles. And one principle is what I call the achievement care freedom principle, just like yin and yang. In many societies, there is a conflict, a trade-off, a difference between those who are carefree and those who are achievement-oriented. Okay. Those who are achievement-oriented always try to achieve, self-actualize, work hard, always try to make something more, go beyond the boundary, go to the extreme, go to a higher level, always try to achieve something, and others just lay back. I was in Africa, I spoke to some people, and they told me that when I asked them to work hard, they say, well, life is short. I want to enjoy my life now. While today is the payday, I want to have a good fun, I go eat, drink, have a nice time with women and all that. I say, what do you think about tomorrow? I may die tonight. Tomorrow is tomorrow. Today is today. Why do you just enjoy your life, man? You are too stressed. Wow. Take it easy. Take it easy. Just enjoy life. Now, I'm not saying that's good and bad. I'm just saying there's one way of life. You go to Japan. You go to China. People work very hard. In China, some kids, they go to school because they want to have a good education, pass the exam to go to college. And some of them, when they fail the exam to go to college or the college that they like, they commit suicide. Wow. Why? Why is so serious? Well,
why so serious?
That's what I mean. They are achievement-oriented, and this carefree-oriented, carefree. That's why in Africa, people may be poor, but people are very happy. They are very easygoing. They dance, they sing, nothing wrong with that. They are not so stressful. The Chinese may have higher income, but they are very stressed. Life in China is very stressed. Hard working, hard work.
So
now you ask me the question, how do you achieve? How do you pay the price? It's very relative.
Relative. Yeah, Professor. Professor, Doctor. Okay, this is amazing, huh? This is quite amazing for me.
So it's a collectivist versus the individualist. Some society are much more collectivist, okay, like China. Some other society are much more individualist, like America. Let me give you an example. I stop. In America, if you have a problem, you don't call the police, because the police in many ways is also the problem. Okay. America in many ways is a very violent society. Police often do not get along with the people, especially the minorities. In China, they don't think like that. In China, when something happens, people often call the police, because the police and the community work together to resolve whatever problem. The police doesn't have this kind of negative image that you have. And that's why in America, they do not understand that when they see a police working with someone in China to resolve a problem, they think that the police are bad. They are telling the audience people what to do. But the problem, what they do not understand, in China, people work together with the government because they have the collectivist consciousness that everything are together. Right. We work together. And that's why China has been so progressive, has achieved so much, become the superpower now in less than 30 years. People are very proud of the government and what they have achieved. They have more to eat. They are freer now than ever before in their history. They are so proud. But in America, they think the Chinese government is a dictatorship and the police is bad. I mean, they don't understand that. They see the two sides don't
balance out.
They don't click. They don't understand. When they talk, it's just like talking to the death. I mean, one side talk, the other side, it just do not listen. Right. They do not. There's no
symmetry.
Conversation. Yeah, you understand me? There is the problem here. Collectivist versus individualist is another yin-yang dichotomy here.
Okay. Use a very important word, communication. So we are, I'm not sure what your spiritual beliefs are in terms of what makes us human, or collectively mind, body, and spirit, right?
Yeah.
So we are communicating with our physical self and our spiritual self, our conscious, subconscious, and like you said, there's 3 levels to it. So then how do we self-communicate or be aware of ourselves when we make a decision or when we interact with other people? And how can we, I guess, enhance as more altruistic or beneficial energies in that way?
This has something to do with the other book that I have written. Is about the future of post-human unconsciousness. Okay. In the book, I make a prediction that the path of human beings or the intelligent beings in the future, we will become more and more utilize the potential of the unconscious part of our mind that we have not before. So far in human history, we have been used a lot of our conscious one, but we have not explored too much yet of the unconsciousness. Okay. So I think that is the next stage of the evolution of intelligent beings. Mm-hmm. We become more and more understanding the potential of the unconsciousness, and we try to exploit more of the unconsciousness. And to see how we can use them for our own future evolution. So we are evolving toward that direction, but we are not there yet. Right. Because many of the things that we have nowadays is still very conscious, but there are still a lot of things about the unconscious that we have not yet explored. And we are moving toward that. But our civilization now, in that sense, is primitive. But we are evolving toward that direction. I call that the post-human, because those people in the future will not be humans like me and you and me anymore. There's one of the 47 or 48 new theories that I have about the ambitions. And one of them is what I call post-humanity. That the human like you and me will become extinct. In the future, there is no blacks, no Asian, no white, no Latino. There's a new kind of species, not just one, many of them in the universe. Okay. And they will be much more advanced than we do.
So would that just be limited to human beings or animals as well?
There is a mixture of different beings, but again, the word humans and animals that we use now will not exist in the future. Those animals, those humans that we are talking about now will not exist. I'm talking about farther into the future. Even the animals that they are talking about will be very different from the animals that we now have. In fact, in the future, those beings may be a combination, mixture of animals and humans, by the way.
Okay.
By the way, another thing I spoke about in the book, another book, The Future of Human Civilization, is that the distinction between human and animal is also problematic. We use
our present definition, right?
Our current definition, or the past definition, or the definition in our human civilization so far, have not been adequate because we prioritize the notion of humanness over animalness. But in many ways, we are also very animalistic. But we are different from animals in some major ways, yes. And that's why, for example, snake, fish, or lions and tiger or whatever, they don't have the thing that we can produce now. Okay, so in a way, we are much more advanced than they are in evolution. Now, when I say much more advanced, I don't mean that it's good or bad. It can go either way. We may well destroy ourselves too in a future nuclear war. Okay, I'm not saying that it must be good. I'm just saying that in terms of capability, we humans have evolving much more than before, but it doesn't mean that it's good. Okay, that's why I always avoid the trap that you start at the beginning. Right. I stay away from the quotation mark. Right. Moral, good and bad, I stay away from, because if you do that, you trap yourself again.
So we just have to look at things as is, no judgment.
Well, that is also another distinction between what is and what should be a positive versus normativeness. I also question that too, because I think that a lot of positiveness already presume certain normativeness inside without knowing about it. Now, this is a question of consciousness too. We need to be more and more aware in the future about many of the assumptions that we have in using many of the terms that we have, just like what I have been questioning you. In a way, I'm trying to show you become more conscious about the assumption that you have been using by using those terms. In this case, between the positive and the normative. In a way, that's also what I'm doing to you too.
Right.
But I just put it in a different way.
It still comes back to communication as well, though, because I'm sort of limited to English and the definitions of the words that we have in English, and as well as my understanding of it and my vocabulary in trying to describe my thoughts or even my questioning.
Yes, I also have written several books on language and linguistics. Yes and no. Yes, language is important. I have learned 10 different languages, okay? I do not master all 10 of them, but some I'm better than some others. But what I have learned is that when I learn into so many other languages, I can see that it can broaden your horizon of thinking about things. Because when you think about something, you are not using one term anymore, and you know that term in English, but if you use it in other languages, they have different meaning. All of a sudden, your understanding of a word becomes so much broader, because now you understand so much better than someone who can speak only one language. Okay, now you can compare and contrast, and can say, oh, no, it doesn't have to be like this. When in English, say, I speak to you, I is the subject. But in some other languages, they may reverse the order and the verb and all that. So you come to learn that order is not necessary. Doesn't have to be that way. So one way you learn is that the more languages that you know, the more it can broaden your horizon. Yes, but on the end, the answer is no, because language is not the only factor. Knowledge is also another factor. Many other things in life require you to understand, and you have to study and do research on them. You have to learn about them. It's not about language anymore. You have to learn about different fields of knowledge. This is why I have written 180 books in all fields of knowledge, because I want to understand what it is like for me to study all of them and propose some new ideas in all of them. And I come to realize there's another dimension that the future is going to move to. But we are not there yet, because we're still very primitive in that sense. Again, when I use the word primitive, I don't mean to be bad. It can be good and bad. I think that it might be a wonderful idea for humans to get extinct. I'm not saying it must be survived like that. Maybe it's better for them to die out. I'm not dinosaur. Is that good or bad for dinosaur to get extinct? I'm not making any judgment. I'm just telling you that, well, that is what is happening. Again, to avoid the trap again at the beginning.
Right. So, see, right now, my mind, even in processing the questions, I now have to try and think more open-mindedly in terms of how not I just approach you, but the persons who are viewing and listening as well. And even my own self, introspections of how I perceive my own questioning. Because they say it is important, sometimes the question is much more important than the answer, it's the type of questions that we tend to ask ourselves. So in terms of you as an individual, I guess before you go to sleep or when you wake up in the morning, some people pray, some people do their self-introspections and their meditation. What is your view on days and nights, in the sense of, do you, write down your events of happening of today? Like, is yesterday something that's just yesterday for you? Or is yesterday something that you analyze and use today to build upon? How do you do that?
I don't think in terms this kind of schedule. Just as I don't think in terms of today is Monday, I work, on Sunday I do not work. I say I don't buy the conventional ways of understanding things. I do not follow them. Just as I visit some countries, I don't follow like a tourist. I don't go to places a tourist do. So I don't behave like that. There's something about thinking about ideas, working about ideas. I don't think that, okay, now, today this and tomorrow is based on yesterday. I don't think like that. My mind is constantly working. It doesn't matter day or night, or sleeping or not sleeping. It's always constantly working on something. Okay, I don't think that, okay, it's nighttime now, it's go to sleep. Okay, it's daytime now, it's time to work. My mind can rest during the daytime. I say, I don't allow this kind of boxes to control me. Okay, there's one, and there's another way to free yourself, so that you can become more understanding about life. Okay, once you follow this kind of pattern, it traps you again.
Wow.
Okay, it degrades you, it dismisses you, it narrows you. In a way, it's not necessarily bad, because you feel much more certain. You feel calmer. You have a peace of mind, because everything is like scheduled, organized exactly like this. But there's a trade-off. The trade-off is you're not going too much.
Wow.
This is a good example. People do not think. They will follow this kind of schedule and pattern. And they never change. They get stuck. And the mind is always like this.
Wow. Is this
And that's why demagogues, they love people like this, because that is the best way for them to manipulate you.
to put you in a box, have you organized, have your timetable, everything?
Yeah.
So does that, okay, now let's go to astronomy. I'm sure you're aware of astronomy and astrology as well.
Yes.
So,
I have written a book on astrology too, by the way.
okay.
So whatever you say, I have written something about it. Go ahead.
So yes, this is now the time that I'm in. Right now at work, it's probably like I say 3, 4 o'clock or whatever.
Okay.
But universal timing, what time am I in right now? Is there a time for myself to say this is my season for taking in information? Is there a season or a time for me to act upon certain things? Some people say that every man acts according to the stars that he or she is born under. So how true is that, or how closely connected to what we perceive to be true is those types of views on
Yeah, I also have written a book on time, by the way, not just one book, but several books on space and time, and also a book on astrology. You see, this question is complicated. Time management, I think that's what you are trying to ask, is different in different society according to different people. There's no one answer is to tell you how you need to manage time. Look at Dominica. It's a good example. People here are much more laid back. Okay, they work, but even if that's not finished, it can take on and on. I have some meeting with people that say, I'm going to see you tomorrow, and tomorrow say, well, and then say, no, after tomorrow say, well, I have another, and they do not even bother to say, I'm sorry, as if that, okay, if I do not finish, then I do not finish. Now, in some other countries, in my culture, for example, if you promise someone that you're going to meet him tomorrow at 10, if you do not show up, that person get mad at you. Okay, you really have to apologize. You will come up with some reason, and you may even get fired on your job. Okay, but you go to Africa, you go to Dominica here, that is not that important. Why? Time consciousness again is different. Am I saying that you should behave like this one, or you should behave like the other one? That's up to you. You ask your question, is there some individual time? Is there some cultural time? Is there some social time? Yes, there are. Or is some natural time? In fact, even Albert Einstein said that time is an illusion in a way, based on his theory of relativity, but we don't need to go into physics right now. But the point that I'm trying to make is that time, there are a lot of different conceptions of time. So how do you answer the question depends on which theory do you use, which perspective do you use, so that you can justify whatever you are doing. You can use the cultural understanding of time to justify what you're doing, or you can use the individual understanding of time to justify that, or you can use the natural understanding of time to justify whatever you are doing. I'm not telling you what to do, but I'm just saying that the answer to your question is not so clear-cut. Is that me? Just individual? Yeah, maybe you, or maybe you use a combination of them.
Yes, sir.
All 4 of them. But the point is, if you use a combination of them, many of them are not compatible. Then you are in a mess in your head.
I understand. So I guess this also boils down to our educational, programming and upbringing, because we are given questions that either have closed-ended answers, or we are taught to look and perceive things in a particular way, or receive questions. Back to the whole, this is what conscious people sound like, or intelligent people, enlightened people sound like. These are the questions we ask. So it also goes down to being open to an answer having multiple answers, as well as a question having multiple ways to ask the same question and probably come up with the same universal, or not universal, but the same almost true. And the real question I'm asking is, in terms of the amount of time or moments you've been traveling different places, and your awareness, and even the books that you've written, what holds a special place in your understanding of who you are, and in your understanding of where we are as a collective, and why is it important to keep that so important to you?
I'm not sure about your question, because you're using a lot of terms which are very questionable. And when you add them up together, it's just very confusing, except that for those people who ask the question, because they have a clear view of that, because they're on one size, one dimension way of thinking, there's no confusion at all. But someone like me, when I listen to that, I already see so many conflicting problems with that kind of question. Okay. So, no, there's no answer to that question. Which place do I find so special in all those countries that I have been in?
Sorry. Maybe I need to rephrase it properly. See, bam, I talking to a genius, so I use the word like space and time. I have to be more specific. So in terms of your hatical space, your emotional groundation of where, when all is said and done, you feel good about it. In all the places that you've traveled, right? Where do you find the most solace in the sense of, yes, this will help me be a fuller or more accomplished or more wholesome human being, that I can continue on to share that type of energy with people?
Okay, that is what I'm trying to answer you, but maybe it's not clear to you. The reason I say no to you, I say no to you now again too, is that it doesn't change my answer, but I need to clarify what I just said, is that when you have the chance to travel throughout the world, not as a tourist, but as to learn from different cultures, you will realize there is no one way that you can say, this make me very comfortable and this does not make me comfortable, and I can share that with other people. Because what you could have said, which you did not, is to say something like a very different way, is that, okay, I have been in more than 160 countries, and what I have discovered is that there are more than 100 different ways for you to feel comfortable. And one way is what I'm doing now, but I cannot share that with you because you may not have that kind of space, time, consciousness, education, experience, whatever that it takes to do that. So you may not find that comfortable. In fact, let me ask the question in a different way. People often ask me in a different way, not the same question, but they are related, and they say, okay, of all the cultures and society that you have been in, more than 150 of them, which country is the best? Which country is that you like the most? And I said that if you asked me this question 40 years ago, then of course it is my country. But now I don't say that anymore, because now I have been in all of them, and I want to spend the rest of my life so that I have some time to live in each of them before I die. That will give me some kind of understanding about the totality of human consciousness. That's what this global tour is. But then I cannot share that with you because, let me give you an example. I once met a guy in Lebanon. He was my neighbor. He was very rich. I had a conversation with him because one, he invited me to his house and we have dinner together. And I asked him, have you traveled a lot? And he said, no, I don't like travel. I said, why? He said, look, travel for what? I have money, I have family, I have a job, I like what I do, I'm so happy. What is the point for me to go to another country? What am I going to get? I said, well, you can gain some wisdom, you can gain some new experiences. I said, oh, I don't care about them. What do I need? I have money. I have my wife. I love my wife, my children. I have a lot to eat. I'm happy. I have a car, I have a swimming pool. What I want to have for my life is already satisfied. If I die today, I die as a happy man. Why do I need to spend my time to travel all this country? Now, I'm not saying that he's wrong. I'm saying that you have people like that. Now, what if he says something like that to you to answer your question? He said, what makes me more comfortable is here with my wife, my children in this place in Lebanon. That's why I am happy now. Can you share that with me? What if you say, no, I don't like to share that with you in that location in Lebanon. Okay, how about this? What are you going to say?
Well,
so you will not be very happy with his answer, right?
Well, that is if you presume in what type of answer I'm looking for. Most times when I ask the question is, again, non-judgmental.
Yes.
It's just to learn and be open-minded to it.
Yes, but your question is more than just non-judgmental, because you also say that you can share that with other people too. Yes. But when you talk about sharing now, back to the beginning again, you are trapped in this kind of morality, because now it's moralistic. It's no longer judgmental neutral anymore.
Yes.
See that? See, now this another good example. Sometimes people are very clear about what they are asking, but there are some problem with the reasoning.
Okay.
Okay, it's not because they are totally unaware and you say, oh, I'm sorry, I did not know about it. And then when I told you, you say, okay, you know about it, you understand it, except you did not finish all the way.
Right.
But it's quite clear to you. You understand me? That is what I want to make you understand, that by the time you finish all of this, in fact, it's a blessing for me that I have this opportunity that 99.999% of the humanity do not have the privilege that I have now to do something like this. In a way, when I think about it, I say, wow, it's just a privilege for me to even do something like this.
Yes, sir. Okay, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. I want you now to ask me a few questions, or what, so I could get a clear understanding of what questions.
Do you know the time? I have my next TV interview at 2. It's already 2 p.m., 2:14 now.
Just ask me 2 questions, or what? I just want to know, what type of questions do you ask?
Normally, I don't like to ask this kind of question because I always let the other guys ask me. I listen, but since you ask, I can ask you some simple question because.
So I could learn what type of questions to ask.
What do you want to die for?
What I'm doing now, helping elevate the level of consciousness. That's it.
Okay, that is simple. And what is your hope for humanity?
That they can know that they are much more than who and what they think they are, including myself. Clearly, there's a lot I need to learn.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And lastly, what are the things which you regret the most in your life?
That I didn't know what I know now sooner, really, to be honest.
Or to put the question in a different way. If you have the power to transform yourself into a different being, whatever it is that you want to define that, what will that be different from you?
Just being more open-minded to everything, including the fact that clearly after today there's a whole different perspective on life.
If I asked you to be a bit more specific, what kind of animals do you wish to be which does not exist yet, but in your imagination you want to be that?
Okay, an animal that can traverse both on air, like in air, underwater, and on land. It has to be multi-terrain, and to be able to explore the air, the earth, the water, and not, that would be the best animal to be honest with you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man.
In many ways, you are not a conservative. So, let's go.
Yeah, man. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So again, it's been an absolute pleasure here.
Okay, so fine.
And again, we've been speaking with Dr. Baofu here and opening minds, especially, minds as well. And I hope that you've learned a lot. Feel free to contact him on his YouTube page as well, which is youtube.com at Dr. Peter Baofu Official. We'll definitely be putting that in the description. His email address is, okay if we share email address? His email is pbaofu@yahoo.com. That's pbaofu@yahoo.com. So definitely check him out. And just connect and look at life not as right or wrong, not as polarized as some of us are consciously and subconsciously, but just try to be open to being open, about everything. Yeah, man.